Hi, my name is Barb Price. Welcome to my review of Bloom's Taxonomy. Educators have been using Bloom's Taxonomy for over 50 years. It is still a popular instructional design tool today. It has been used to design and evaluate lessons, courses, programs, and curriculum. In my workplace, it is used to create course objectives and to make curriculum revisions. In this presentation, I'll provide a description and analysis of Bloom's taxonomy. I'll also discuss its strengths, weaknesses, and best practices. I also want to consider whether Bloom's taxonomy can be a valuable tool for designing online instruction. In 1948, Dr. Benjamin Bloom met with colleagues to create a classification system to provide a theoretical framework for communication in the field of education. 34 educators from universities across the country met annually over 5 years to develop the handbook. It was published in 1956. The taxonomy was created to help instructors evaluate their course material and testing outcomes. Learning was categorized into 3 domains of behavior: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. The initial handbook focused on the cognitive domain. A second handbook was published in 1964, which focused on the affective domain. The psychomotor handbook was never completed. Bloom's taxonomy has 6 levels of learning organized on the basis of hierarchy. Each level requires higher thinking and integrates previous levels. Knowledge is the foundation with a focus on memorization. Higher level thinking increases with each level. The highest level is evaluation, which focuses on making judgments and resolving disparities. Although this new framework was intended for higher education, it was widely used in primary and secondary education as well. In 2001, Bloom's handbook was updated by a group of 8 scholars. There were about a dozen changes made. Several of the significant changes include a change in terminology from the noun format to a verb format. This change emphasizes active cognitive behaviors desired from learners. Evaluation and synthesis traded places at the top of the pyramid to reflect that creating something new should be at the highest learning level. Another significant change was the addition of the knowledge dimension to factor in factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive aspects of learning. Action verbs were added for each level, making this tool very easy to use. For this presentation, when I refer to Bloom's taxonomy, I am referring to the revised Bloom's taxonomy. It can be displayed in different formats, such as in this table format, depending on user preference. One of the challenges in instructional design is to devise instructional objectives and then to design related activities that will direct students to accomplishments on the higher intellectual levels. This example of Bloom's taxonomy shows how this can be accomplished. Action verbs are shown above each cognitive operator. Different activities that are appropriate for each level then are shown below. Verbs and activities from the higher levels can be chosen to achieve the higher learning. Bloom's taxonomy is a framework. It is a conceptual tool for instructional design. It focuses more on the overall structure rather than specific methodology. The overarching theory paradigm is behaviorism. Behaviorism is a learning theory that focuses on objective, observable behaviors. It discounts independent activities of the mind. It was popular at the time Bloom and his team were developing their taxonomy. They designed their taxonomy based on this learning theory. In my analysis, Bloom's taxonomy can be applied by novice instructional designers. It can even be used to train prospective teachers how to write learning objectives. Intermediate and expert designers also use it in conjunction with other instructional design models. For example, setting learning objectives is an important step in many instructional design models, so Bloom's taxonomy can be a helpful tool to go with them. Although Bloom's taxonomy was designed for higher education, it is also used for K-12 education and for business and government training programs and wherever learning objectives are needed. I believe Bloom's taxonomy is best suited for curriculum level and course level learning objectives because it defines the appropriate verbs for each learning level. Bloom's taxonomy is well suited for procedural tasks because it can be used to develop criterion-referenced evaluation. It can also be used for declarative tasks to evaluate student progress. I think the biggest strength of Bloom's taxonomy is the learning objectives. By moving up the taxonomy and choosing verbs and activities from the levels on the right, higher level learning can be achieved. I believe one of the reasons Bloom's taxonomy has remained so popular over the years is because it's easy to understand and easy to use. It is also versatile. It can be used for both classroom learning and online learning and with other instructional design models. It is also appropriate to use with all age groups of learners. It does have its weaknesses. The pyramid structure can be misleading. Taxonomy is not a sequence, and learning can take place in any order at any level, depending on the education objective, instruction, and assessment. Bloom's taxonomy has been misused by teachers who think they need to start with knowledge before they can move up the pyramid to teach higher levels of learning, and this is not true. Another weakness is the overlap between levels. The higher order levels, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, express similar concepts, and they could be combined. The lower levels for concrete knowledge could also be combined to avoid confusion between the levels. In the Bloom's taxonomy, knowledge is at the bottom of the pyramid, which implies all knowledge is known and critical thinking builds up from there. Some would argue that the ultimate goal of learning is to discover new knowledge, so knowledge should be at the top of the pyramid, with the other levels being used to support the goal to discover new knowledge. How useful is Bloom's taxonomy for designing online instruction? I found several research articles where Bloom's taxonomy is being used for online instruction. Research shows that in building online courses, educators have used Bloom's taxonomy to provide similarity to the purposes of the course, activities, and the assessments to reveal whether objectives have been achieved. So it is used to align learning objectives, activities, and assessment. It is also used as an assessment tool to compare student performance in traditional courses with student performance in online simulations. The list of verbs in Bloom's taxonomy can be used to originate discussion questions touching on all stages of cognitive thought, can also be used to categorize student responses into different learning levels in online discussions. This is an example of how Bloom's taxonomy can be used for an online discussion. The knowledge dimension is shown in the left column. Learning levels are shown across the top row. Discussion questions and responses can be added to the table to reflect their appropriate level of learning. In conclusion, research shows that the revised Bloom's taxonomy is beneficial for meaningful learning, unit planning, assessment, curricular alignment, instruction, and metacognitive knowledge. Half a century after it was originally published, it continues to be a popular tool in designing and evaluating classroom and online instruction. Thanks for listening. My references are listed below.